Restaurants. Oftentimes, we get our food from where? Supermarkets. And I don't know about you, but I don't often swap supermarkets because it's quite a pain in the ass to go from one supermarket to another, get to know what's in what aisle, what products are good, what isn't. Even though a lot of them sell the same thing, it's just a pain to do. And if you shop online, you have to make a new account. You have to do all sorts of things if you want to swap supermarkets. So a lot of people stick to the same supermarket week on week on week. But that gets pretty boring. That gets repetitive. Eating the same meals every week, unless you're me, you're going to get bored of it. And so what do a lot of people do to spice up their culinary experience?
They go to restaurants.
Bravo, ladies and gentlemen, bravo. They go to restaurants. And there's a lot of restaurants. You know, it doesn't matter where you are. Unless you live in the, buttfuck middle of nowhere, there's going to be restaurants all over the place. You have Chinese restaurants, Indian restaurants, or if you are really, really cursed with your taste buds, British restaurants. There's all sorts. And oftentimes when you go to a restaurant, it's a pretty good experience. You get treated. It's one of those things where a normal person will get treated like a VIP. For just an hour or so, right? You go in there, you get waited on, literally. You order food, it gets sent back by someone. You don't even have to get up. You just sit on your ass. You get given the food presented to you. You eat it, and then you pay at the end, and then that's it. It's like a nice little, kind of like a nice little VIP experience, And in general, I've been to many restaurants throughout my life, surprisingly. Not hundreds or whatever, I'm not like some sort of globe-trotting, restaurateur, but I've been to quite a few, and I've had, most of the time, 90% of the time, it's been a good experience. You just go in there, nice relaxing atmosphere, and it's all good. But there are those times, very rarely, where you can go into a restaurant and everything just fucks up. And, it's funny, I've been to a lot of restaurants, but the only restaurant experiences that I really remember are those that went horribly bad. It's quite funny that we remember the things in life that go really wrong, but not necessarily the good times, because why would we, right? And so today, we thought it would be a good idea to talk about our nightmare restaurant experiences, and also yours, and see what they're like. But you wanted to say some things about the general restaurant experience.
Yeah, you said you've been to a lot of restaurants, but you said that cafes, buffets, and fast food restaurants don't count, so...
No, right, look. As I said, right, so we had a discussion about this earlier, right? And you wanted to know what the real definition of a restaurant was, because to me, if you said to me, I'm going to take you to a restaurant, and we ended up at KFC, I'd feel ripped off.
I wouldn't mind.
I know, I wouldn't mind. But it wouldn't be what I expected, right? Like, no one technically, yeah, a fast food place is a restaurant. But, yes, but that's a stretch, Yeah,
but if we're not supposed to talk about those kind of restaurants right now, then I've only ever been to 3 restaurants, so I don't think I have much experience.
No, I'd say... Okay, I really want to hear about real restaurants, right? But fast food, sure, we'll include it, because I'm sure that we haven't read the responses from people, right? So, but I'm sure that there's a lot of fast food places there, because let's face it, fast food are going to have way lower standards than a proper restaurant. But when I say restaurant, to me, what comes to mind is like, you go in there, there's a waiter. Like McDonald's doesn't have a waiter, right? If a place has a waiter, to me, that's a restaurant. Not like a buffet. They're very rare here, by the way. Buffets.
Oh, okay.
It's very rare you'll find a place in the UK where you can just go in and eat everything. Probably because there's so many fat bastards. The place would run out of food. Like, there's no all-you-can-eat buffets here. It's like, that's it. But yeah, that's what I mean by this. But sure, we'll include fast food restaurants in that, but
not buffets or cafes.
No, well, we can. A cafe's not a restaurant.
Okay.
No.
But you can get like a sandwich or like a smaller meal, like
Yeah,
a
but
soup.
just because you can get food doesn't mean it's a restaurant. Like we have,
I don't know. I'm not
there's-
very experienced with restaurants.
there's places in hospitals, right? And you ever been to the local hospital here? No.
Yeah, when I had surgery, I had food. Would that be a
Is that a restaurant? Is that a restaurant? There's a so-called restaurant in my local hospital, and it's next to the toilets, and it stinks like piss. Is that a restaurant? No.
Well, we have a nice cafe at my local hospital.
I hate hospital food. Is hospital food good though? In Sweden,
I only had like a sandwich and an egg, so I don't know.
and is it actually good?
Yeah, it tastes like normal.
In the UK, I had jelly in hospital. It tasted like tasted like sort of frozen piss.
Well, I remember my fake grandmother had to be in the hospital for quite a while because she broke something, and she said the food was great.
You're going to explain to the viewers what fake grandmother means, or are we just going to skip past that?
Well, it means not blood grandmother.
Oh. Well, anyway. So, yeah, to me, a restaurant is a place that has a waiter. Now, I'm sure that people will have included cafes and buffets and fast food places in there. Sure, we'll read them out anyway. But to me, a restaurant is a place with a waiter, a proper dining experience, somewhere where Gordon Ramsay wouldn't have a heart attack looking at. That's a restaurant.
Well, then I don't think we can.
No, you've not been. No, we've not been anywhere.
I don't
No.
think I've been anywhere, no.
Well, I'll say two stories because I know that I'll fill you in on this one because I know that you've not been to many restaurants according to yourself.
Yeah.
So I'll do two. One that I've had personally, but one that's my mother's. So the second one this isn't mine. My nightmare experience at a restaurant. Now this is I've never forgotten this. It happened about 10 years ago, and I still ain't forgotten it. So, for some reason, every year around Christmas, my family, and I'm talking like everyone, pretty much like every single person, almost, like in the immediate family, we used to go to this Chinese restaurant around Christmas. Now, I don't know why the hell you'd go to a Chinese restaurant around Christmas, but I mean, it seems very un-Christmassy, right? But we did, and I don't know why. It's like some tradition thing. Every single year, I won't name the restaurant, mostly because I don't remember it. I know where it is, but I'm not going to name it because I think it's still in operation. And just for reference, 9 out of the 10 times we've been to this restaurant, it's been a good experience. Like the people are nice, the people who work there are nice, the food's great. It's great. It's a nice restaurant. But the one time we went there, and it's not even the restaurant's fault, frankly, as you'll soon find out, it was a disaster. So we go in there and. It's not a big restaurant by any means. It's just like I don't know how many people you could fit in there, but there's just a few tables, right? It's not huge, right? And obviously, because we're going in there, it's like this big family. We got this massive, long table with like 20 seats on it or something, right? It's like something out of Harry Potter. You know, when all the houses are eating their food in like the Great Hall. It looks like that. That's how big this table was. Anyway, we go in there. And we're just ordering the food, we're eating the food, everything's great, nice Chinese music in the back, nice staff, everything's fine. But the memory's a bit iffy, but I remember, for some reason, this drunk woman came in, because this place is in a rough part of the city. It's really rough, where this area is. And this drunk woman comes in, some blonde slapper, like completely like off her head, and she goes in there and she goes in there and she like demands food or something. She's like, give me a food, like she's like slurring her words. It doesn't make any sense. You can imagine it. It's like she got like her clothes are ripped. She looks like something out of Harry Potter, honestly. She looks like a goblin or something. And the Chinese guy, who is like the most stereotypical Chinese guy you've ever seen in your life, he's just like, get out of my restaurant, and he's just like yelling, and she's like, fucking, give me a food. And anyway, we're all just sat there, awkwardly eating, and like this nice, peaceful Chinese music that's like, da 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 da, is playing over, fuck off, get out of my restaurant, and we're all just awkwardly there, like, trying to ignore it. And anyway, I was there. I don't want to get too specific, but I was there, and the family members I was with, the men, it was kind of like some sort of... It's like the family looks like some sort of mafia, right? Like you've got the dad and you've got their sons, and it is like a scene in like The Godfather or something, right? Anyway, this woman, she stops like talking to the Chinese guy after demanding food, and she turns to all of us on the table and she says, "What are you doing paying for these Chinese foods, you fucking knobheads," or something. And she goes, "I hope you choke on it." And it's like, you could hear a pin drop after she said that. All the blokes in the family just stood up and were just yelling at her, like, "What the hell are you? What are you saying? What are you doing?" Anyway, all of a sudden, her man, bursts through the door, and who is also completely drunk, must have been on drugs, and he's like, "What are you doing to my woman? What are you doing?" And all the blokes are like, "What are you doing? You've just burst in this restaurant demanding food from this guy who's not done anything wrong. You know, what are you doing?" Anyway, the guy gets the woman, and they both fuck off, basically, realizing like they're outnumbered. Like this isn't going to go down well for them. No one wants them in here. They're causing trouble. They piss off. The Chinese guy goes, and he goes to my family. And he goes, "Thanks for that. They're just troublemakers. I'm sorry for the inconvenience." Right? Guy's a nice guy. Anyway, they leave, and we all go back to eating the food. About 10 minutes later, the bitch comes back in again. And she just goes up to the Chinese guy, and he's like, "Fuck you!" You know, like, just like no reason, just goes in there. And I shit you not, the Chinese guy just goes, slaps her right on the cheek, and she instantly goes, starts bursting into tears, and she looks at us and goes, and we're all just like, "What? You deserve it. Fuck off, you daft cow. What are you doing coming into some guy's restaurant, calling him a wanker, insulting him? You get what you deserve. Fuck off." And she just runs off crying. And that was it. We never saw her again. But I remember how awkward that restaurant experience was, because it was like you don't expect it. But it's amazing how much shit people who work in restaurants get from drunks, from general arseholes like that. No one was causing it. Like, we were just going in there, enjoying a meal. Who was this woman? Who was this guy? What the fuck were they doing there? They had no business being in there. Had they not existed, we would have all just had a nice meal. Chinese guy would have been paid, you know, everything's fine, and then we just leave and that's it. But they have to fuck it up. They have to fuck it up being drunk. They have to fuck it up yelling, harassing customers. What the hell is wrong with them? So that's not necessarily a bad thing for the restaurant. I think they did everything fine. It's a bad look for people. You know, I can imagine working in a restaurant after a few years would make you despise humanity.
Yeah.
If you were there, you would have been like, Jesus Christ.
Why? Like, when she came in the first time and it was horrible like that, and her boyfriend, why didn't they just call the police?
Well, had they remained in there, they probably would have, but they were only there for like a minute. Like, when I say it in a story, it sounds like they're there for like 10 minutes. Had they been there for that long, it would have been like unbelievable. But they were only there for like a minute, and then they went lost. You know, they went lost. But yeah, had they have done that for a long time, I imagine they would. But also, there's the fact that, as I said, the place is it's a poor part of the city. This place, police aren't going to be around. Like this. And to give you an idea of how poor this place was, outside the restaurant there was prostitutes on the corners, street corners. I'm serious.
Why did you go there then? Why wouldn't you go somewhere nicer?
You think I picked it? You think I would go, yeah, let's go to the Chinese restaurant?
No, but I mean, your family, if it was like a Christmas tradition, you'd think that you'd spice it up a little.
I know, that's why I say it's like something out of The Godfather. We're in this dingy neighbourhood. No, but honestly, going there in the car, I remember you could see women like wearing basically nothing in the street corners, like waving at the cars, obviously, you know, and going into cars. Like, it was a well-known prostitute's corner. And it was not, you know, it was not a good place to have a restaurant, honestly. But I guess that's where they were before, and the area just got worse. So even if you would have called the police and said, deal with it, they probably wouldn't have even bothered arriving anyway. British police are fucking useless most of the time. Christ almighty. Unless it's anything to do with Twitter, in which case they're on the ball. But if it's anything real, they'll take like 10 hours to turn up and then probably do nothing about it. Like, American police get a lot of shit because they're very brutal and very harsh, but British police are the opposite. They're like wimps. Like, if this was America, they'd go in there and go, get the fuck out of the restaurant! Get out, get on the ground! British police, they try and have like a negotiation with you, like, oh, please, can you... No, the people are trying to enjoy their food. Come on now, be reasonable. And it's like, you can't negotiate with drunk prostitutes. No, but... No, that was a... Oh, God, I tell you, that was a funny one.
I feel really sorry for the guy having to work in that area.
Yeah, but if you're from China, I imagine that's like heaven.
No,
compared to where he's from. He could be in a Foxconn factory.
Born here, he doesn't necessarily.
No, he wasn't. You could tell he wasn't. He was like proper Chinese. Like he's like the most stereotypical Chinese like stereotype ever. Like he's got the thick accent and everything. The way he dressed as well. Dressed in a very unique way.
Yeah, so people would have a meal there and then they would go outside for dessert.
Yeah, well, that's one way you want to put it, but I tell you, it ain't sweet dessert. I can tell you the amount of STDs in that neighbourhood. Oh, God. I wonder if it's still open. I have a friend of mine, you know who he is. I'm not going to say who it is, but he has an older brother. And when he learned to drive, his older brother, to like celebrate, him and his friends went to this neighbourhood with like water guns, right? And they shot the prostitutes with the water guns and covered them in obviously water, and then gave them the finger and then drove off. And that's what they did for fun. And on one part, I think that's pretty funny, but on the other side, I think it's pretty sad because if you're in the state that you have to prostitute yourself on a street corner, your life's probably terrible as it is. Doesn't need being even worse, but. I tell you, it's a really rough-ass neighbourhood, that. Like, oh my God. You would hate it there. You would not last a second there.
I mean, celebrating when you have like a nice meal or have some cake and play some games, why would you shoot prostitutes with water?
No, he learned to drive. It's something to do with Christmas. That was us. He learned to drive and to celebrate.
To celebrate, wouldn't you do... Why would you shoot prostitutes with water? I mean, I'm sure...
Sounds quite fun to me. I think he's played too much Saints Row or Grand Theft Auto, honestly. And he was like, fuck it, we'll do it.
I'm sure they're used to getting a liquid squirted all over them.
Oh, God. Anyway, so the other experience, this isn't mine. This is my mother's experience. And I've never forgotten this. So, my mother went to a restaurant, and you've been there. You know which one it is. I'm not going to name it. But we've been there. And this was about 2000 what?
I've only been to one restaurant here.
I know, that's why I'm saying you've been there. Okay. So that's how you know, by the process of elimination of one. No, but this was around 2005, right? And she went there and she ordered something. I don't know what she ordered, like a pasta or something like that. Anyway, she was eating it. And as she was eating it, she felt something like... You know what pasta's like? It's got a certain texture in the mouth. It's like sort of... Not chewy, but sort of like... I don't know, you know what I mean? It's pastry, right? You know what I mean? And all of a sudden she was eating, and she felt this sort of weird, sort of slimy feel in her mouth. And sort of like, I don't know, it's like really slimy, like, what's this? Anyway, she was chewing into it, and she was like, what's this? Ooh. Anyway, it tasted awful, so she spat it out. And she was horrified. You'll never guess what it was inside. No, sorry, it wasn't a pasta, it was a salad. Right, so that's even more strange because it's like lettuce, right? So you can feel like lettuce is very like hard, isn't it? Not hard, but you know what I mean. It's different. And when you got something slimy there, that's really weird. Guess what it was?
I'll guess it was a slug.
A slug, seriously, a slug in her salad, and she was like almost gonna puke. Right? Now I know that does happen, but fucking hell, that's bad quality control. That anyway. So she obviously tells the waiter, like, there's a slug in my salad. And the waiter, now to their credit, right, this is what separates a good restaurant from a bad restaurant. Well, a good restaurant, this wouldn't happen, right? But in after a problem's happen, this is what separates good business from bad business. A bad business pulls a Blizzard Entertainment and goes, it's not our fault. What can you do? See you later. Bye. Right? But they went down the good route. They said they were just as horrified. They were like, I'm so sorry about that. You know what? Not only will we give you a full refund for the night, we'll give you like free meals for the next multiple times you arrive. Right? Now, I'm not sure if you want to go back there after that, but she did. We've been in this restaurant many, many times. It is a good place. It's just one fuck up, but they handled it well. And the chefs came over and apologised personally, and she honestly wasn't that bothered. She's not like a Karen character. She's not like, this is ridiculous, I'm going to... No, she was just like, don't worry about it. But it does, that does put you off a bit. But still, that is horrible. Because if that happened to me, you know what I'm like with food. I would never have a fucking salad again. I'm the most picky person ever.
Well, I was going to ask that, did she ever order a salad again?
No, I don't think you would after that, honestly. Well, judging by her weight today, I don't think she's ever had a salad since. But hey, just in case she listens to this, that's a joke. Yeah. Kinda. Anyway, but seriously, but that's my nightmare experience. That restaurant's really funny because obviously you've been there. It's got a nice atmosphere, but it's Italian, right? No, it does. Apart from the loud ass music. Which is a bit of a pain in the ass. I like the music though. It's like something out of Fallout. No,
when you go out, your ears hurt. You have like the tinnitus.
Yeah, tinnitus in a bit. Yeah, I know.
It's so loud. It's so
no,
bad.
and it feels like your ears can breathe when you step outside. It's like, oh my god, finally.
And then somebody always has a birthday.
Oh yeah, yeah. So when someone has a birthday, they get a cake out, and it's awkward, and everyone looks at the table, and they play like this loud "Happy Birthday" music. Oh my god, the people who like the audio operators in that restaurant need to get their ears tested because it's way too loud. But something that I liked about that restaurant was in the bathrooms. Did you ever go to the bathroom in that restaurant? Right. So in the bathrooms, and this is the weirdest shit ever. I remember first time, it's many years ago. I went in the bathroom. I went for a cramp, and all of a sudden I hear like someone say like, "Buongiorno," and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" I'm in a toilet cubicle, and someone's like "Buongiorno," and I'm like, "What's going on?" And then they go, and then they say "Hello," and I was like, "What?" I'm the only person in here. I went in, and I'm the only person in. Who's talking to me? Anyway, then it starts going on and on and on, and it's like, "Cappuccino, papa," and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on here?" It sounds like Italian or something. And then the guy goes like, "I like to eat food." And I'm like, what is this? Who's talking to me? Turns out in the bathrooms, they've got a speaker that teaches you Italian. So they say Italian words, and then it's like English after. But I was thinking there's some fucking weirdo who's talking to me, and I'm having a shit. And I walk out, and I'm like peering, like what the and I only realise after, oh my god, it's like a learn Italian sort of thing. Weird place to put that in the toilets.
Yeah, but imagine if they had that in the women's bathroom as well.
They do.
Yeah, but they can't have a male voice then, because that would scare the shit out of people.
Yeah. Well, it was a mix of man and woman, and I think when the woman spoke, that's when I realised this is not a real person. Like this is on a speaker or something like that. Yeah. But it's just weird. Like it's just, but I like it. It's funny, but the first time you go in there, you are a bit shocked. Like who the fuck's talking to me? Especially if you've gone in on your own. Like and it's like there's no one else there, and you've not heard the door open. But yeah, anyway, that's funny. But anyway, we asked the people, what were your nightmare restaurant experiences? And we have not seen these responses. So, from you got to read the names as well.
Really?
Yes. Right. Who said it and what did they say?
Okay, you have summoned me. Said working at one. Like fuck people. What the hell?
Yeah, it's as I said earlier. I felt sorry for that Chinese guy because it would make you.
Probably him.
Yes, probably him. Was it you? What's his name? You have summoned me. Doesn't sound very Chinese. But, yeah, as I said earlier, that Chinese guy must have seen some shit, because if you have a restaurant in the middle of a rough neighbourhood like that, my God, and that was just one night, I can't imagine the assholes you must have in there. Like, it must drive you crazy. I know a lot of people who have worked in retail shops, which is, I don't want to say it's the same thing as working in a restaurant, but, interacting with the general public, and their faith in humanity, if you could draw it on a graph, it starts off at like 100%, and by the end of year one, it's like 0%. So, yeah, I imagine. But I'd say probably working in one is probably worse than being a customer in one overall. So,
Demon King said, got a Wendy's Baconator one time, and they never put any bacon or cheese on it.
well, we don't have Wendy's here, but what is it called? Baconator? Wow. That sounds like a sort of food version of a Transformer. But judging by the name Baconator, perhaps this is a bit of an Einstein moment, but I'm going to assume that there's meant to be bacon on it.
I'm not sure.
I don't know, I think so. And if you've not... I tell you what, right? I'm always the sort of person who hates it when people take the piss out of fast food workers and call them dumb and stupid, etc. I always think you should respect, like, even a fast food worker, right? Because they're just doing the job. No, really. But if you're dumb enough to not put bacon on a piece of food which is literally called the Baconator, you are fucking stupid.
Well, you shouldn't be working there if you can't even make a simple fucking burger.
No, if you're that inept, you are different to me on that. You always say, like, if someone gets anything wrong in fast food, you're hardcore harsh.
No, I think everyone makes mistakes, but if you keep making silly mistakes like that and you keep getting orders wrong, you shouldn't be working there. Because we're paying you to get our food, and we should get what we pay for.
I agree, but I also say fast food workers, right? First of all, they're not paid anywhere near enough. It's a very stressful job. I mean, just think of how many people go through a McDonald's in a day. It's like thousands. They're always working. There's not... there's breaks, right? Obviously. But there's not going to be like... it's a stressful job, I think. And I don't think... I think if you get an order wrong every week or so, well, that's still like a 99% success rate. But obviously for the customer, that's not good. But let's face it. It's fucking fast food. What do you expect? A Michelin star service?
No, but that's not what I mean. But I mean, in my country, we go to McDonald's quite often, or well, my family does, and almost every other time they have something wrong with their order, and I don't think that's acceptable. If they have it wrong, like every so often, it happens. That's fine. But every other time there's something wrong, they always have to check their order, because there's always like some sauce missing. Maybe there's something wrong with the burger. Maybe they got the wrong burger. Maybe they missed like a side of fries or something. I don't think that's acceptable to happen every other time they go there. I don't.
No, I'd say not. And especially not in your country, because unlike in America or the UK or something, not many people eat fast food to begin with. Over here, McDonald's are flooded. Like, when this corona lockdown is over and McDonald's starts to open up again, I tell you what, the queues outside of McDonald's will be miles long. They'll be going into the sea. But over there, people... You're all a bunch of vegan losers, right? You don't really eat McDonald's. The general population really doesn't eat McDonald's.
Actually, we have vegan burgers, we have vegetarian burgers, so people do.
Whatever. Yeah, but a real hardcore vegan is not going to even look at McDonald's. They're going to go like, you abuse the pigs. I'm not eating you at all. Like, got to give vegans one thing. They got very, very like... set in stone morals, right? They're not gonna shop there. So what I'm saying is basically more people. There's not going to be anyone in Sweden really who goes to McDonald's. They're going to be very unpopulated. It's like all Scandinavian countries are sort of culturally similar in this way. Like Iceland, there is no McDonald's in Iceland. They had to shut them all down because no one shopped there. It's kind of where it's not that popular. So if they're getting their orders wrong and there's hardly anyone going there, then they are inept and then they should be fired.
Well, we have Max as well, so, and their rice really good. I've never went there and got my order wrong, and I've been there like thousands of times.
Yeah, Max is like the Swedish McDonald's for those who don't know. And yeah, it's possible that McDonald's basically has just conceded to Max because it's homegrown versus international corporation, and they've just gone, fuck it, we'll exist. But I don't know.
It's got worse lately, actually, because when I was young and they got something wrong, which was quite rare, then you always got like some extra item to make up for it. But now they get something wrong like every other time, and they always brag about hiring young people, hiring the teens or something. And if they are so incompetent, you shouldn't be hiring them. You can't just hire monkeys to do something.
Yeah, that is true. I remember when McDonald's does get a lot more orders wrong, even here now. I remember, it's usually to do with sauces and things like that.
Yeah.
Not from me, but from my mother's whenever we go. But also, I remember I remember 2005 or something like that. I went to McDonald's. I was really young, and I ordered I don't know what I ordered. I ordered like a normal burger, and they put cheese on it by accident or something like that. And simple mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of that mistake, she, like my mother went to them and said like, hey, no big deal, but you put cheese on the burger. Can we have a plain one? And I shit you not, the McDonald's staff, they didn't just correct the order. They gave me like 50 tubs of ice cream or something like that. Like,
they did that.
they go crazy. They overwhelm you. So I got to the point where I was like, no, I don't need any more food. I'm all right, McDonald's. But now if they do that, they just be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and another thing I remember, because my brothers were always quite picky, so they would always do special orders, so it would take a little bit longer. But if it took longer than 10 minutes, they would always give us like a pie or like an ice cream or something, because we waited. And now you could wait for 20 minutes and they wouldn't give you anything.
They still do that here, though. They still give you extra stuff here. I don't know, yeah.
It just feels like
But you got to remember, a lot of McDonald's are franchised, so they're ran. Yes, of course, they're sort of operated by the corporation, McDonald's Corporation, but it's all about managers, right? If you have a manager who's bad, the whole place is going to go to shit. It doesn't matter if it's a McDonald's, a KFC, or what. It's all about the manager. So just avoid restaurants with bad managers. It's amazing the difference a good manager can make. But anyway, what are the others?
Tony Atlas shrugged, said, got a couple of donuts from DD and someone had literally taken a bite out of one. Oh, another time my spouse got food poisoning and my son and I had a terrible diarrhea from a dinner. But seriously, the donut thing was my worst.
Yeah, DD, I think Dunkin' Donuts in America, right? I think don't have that here either, but my God, I can't imagine. That has to be a mistake. There's no way in hell, because that's basically like asking to be fired. There's no way in hell someone deliberately took a bite out of your donut and gave it to you. I imagine they probably had one, and then they made yours, and then they just gave you that back. Yeah, 100%. Like, there's no way they did that on purpose. But still, from the customer's perspective, wow, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. I hope that you didn't open that when you got home and you saw a bite there. Like, can you imagine? Like, it's like a 15-minute drive and you got to go back. Oh my God. Yeah, I'd never. Truth be told, I would never go there again if that happened to me, because I'd feel like these people are just too inept. You know what I mean? I'd wait a few years before going back there. Yeah, that's disgusting. That.
Roast beef disease said working at Pizza Hut.
Yeah, again, probably. Pizza Hut, I imagine, is probably not that bad because it's not really like fast food. I mean, it is kind of, but it's not like in and out. You know, it's like everyone's always going there, and it's not like McDonald's. But again, yeah, I imagine probably.
Willie Ben Shen said closed. I don't know what he means with that.
Closed? What? He went to a restaurant that was closed? He just said closed. Closed. Look, if you're going to answer a question, you're going to have to give some context. If I say like, if someone asks me who are you and I say a human, that's not helping anyone, is it? But yeah, if you go to a restaurant that's closed, that's your fault, not the restaurant. Bloody hell.
Emolga and Skeptile or something. I went to a burger place where the meat tasted like donkey and the bread had mold.
Ugh, yeah, I mean the meat, bad meat is all over the place, but you can't really tell if it was sort of deliberately bad quality. It could have just been poorly cooked. But bread with mold is undeniable. Like any competent person making food, even me, all I can make is toast. That's the height of my cooking skill. If even I saw mold bread, I'd go, okay, probably shouldn't serve that to the customer. Some people are just fucking stupid, like how you could be drunk and still know not to do that.
RevJoe918 said, first to come to mind, we went to TGI Fridays. We ordered an app sampler. Over an hour, it was nowhere to be found. Waitress apologized a few times when finally brought it, and it was legit burned to a crisp. I normally like well done things, but this was charred. So we complained. A waitress has a discussion with her manager and quits mid-shift. The whole experience was wild.
What was that? TGI sampler?
TGI Fridays. And they ordered an app sampler. I have no.
It sounds like a music store or something. Like an app sampler. I don't know what the hell that is. We do not have that here. But yeah, I imagine that'd be pretty awkward if you go to a restaurant and some of the staff are quitting. Bloody hell. That'd be like you're in the middle of some sort of Coronation Street drama episode or something like that.
Luna Reddit 13 said, ordered a soup. When I got it, at first I thought someone had dropped an olive. Turned out to be a cockroach.
See, that's even worse than the slug, because a slug is obviously been brought in by the salad.
Yeah.
It's not a sign that the restaurant's dirty, you know what I mean? Like, it's a sign that the stock's not good. But a cockroach, that doesn't just appear out of nowhere. That means those bitches aren't cleaning their kitchen. Get the fuck away from there. It reminds me of, like, Gordon Ramsay kitchen nightmares when they go into a place and there's cockroaches and he shits himself. Yeah, that's a bad one. I hope you avoided that. Was that all of them?
Yes, that was all, I think.
Yeah, well, again, those are some... You know what I'm surprised at? I'm surprised that the people... I wasn't expecting people who worked there to say that was the bad experiences. I expected a ton of, stories like we got of bad customer experiences, not really people who worked there. But it goes to show that working in a restaurant it's not necessarily all fun and games.
And I realize as well that most people consider fast food restaurants because most of these was for fast food restaurants.
Yeah, I know, but they're not.
Okay.
They're just not. Be real. Right, and I know this is a bad question to ask you because you are legitimately not asked. The first restaurant we ever went to was legitimately McDonald's. Like, that's not a joke.
You called it a restaurant.
Oh, whatever. But it is no, but it's not a restaurant. Whatever. You know what I mean? No, but
it's a fast food restaurant.
Any ladies listening to this, if you got invited by a bloke to a restaurant, and they took you to KFC,
the first time we ever met them.
I mean,
it was McDonald's the first time you ever met me.
Well, I took you to McDonald's first time I met you, but I didn't say we're going to a restaurant. We were on the way back in the car, and I said, let's go to McDonald's. Yeah. But I'm saying, all right, ladies, if you're single, and a guy, he's sort of flirting with you, and he goes, hey, I'll take you to a restaurant tonight. How about that? And you're like, oh, yes, and you get dressed, and whatnot, because you think, oh, it's a restaurant, and you end up going to KFC. What? Are you going to feel ripped off, or are you going to go, well, he did say restaurant? No! Fast food is fast food. Yes, I know it's technically a restaurant, but that's not what comes to mind when I say restaurant. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's the same for me. They're fast food restaurants and restaurants. It's not really the same thing. Technically, they're all restaurants. The places
it's very
where
generous.
you order and eat food.
It's very generous. It's like calling a... Oh, I don't know. Sudoku. That Sudoku game that you play, a video game. Like, yeah, it is kinda, but it's not Stardew Valley or World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? It's not exactly out there.
Yes, but also, when we have a birthday, I don't want to go to KFC.
No, but we'll talk about that KFC story in the future. What might do specifically? What's your fast food nightmare stories?
Yeah.
Because that, I think, that's a lot less, specific than a restaurant. But there you go. Bad restaurant experiences. Surprised at how many people say that the worst restaurant experience is working there. I imagine working at there makes you respect people who work in restaurants more. But TLDR of all of this, be nice to people who work in restaurants. And if you work in a restaurant, don't be inept. And then maybe people will be nice to you.
Wrong. And if you do, give them free ice cream.
Yeah, free ice cream. Every restaurant should do that. They should have like a vault of free ice cream. And it's just like, whenever someone fucks up, it's just like, open the vault, because honestly, most people would probably respond positively to that.
Honestly, McDonald's could probably not do that because their ice cream machine is always broken.
It is, isn't it? Everywhere. Hey, what the fuck? You know why I think that is? No. The people who they get there, and for some reason their ice cream machine must be like something out of like Harry Potter. It must be that advanced that people don't know how to work it properly, so they just keep breaking it.
Well, you could give them like a muffin or something.
Yeah, sure. Or an
apple pie.
Quite frankly, if you're the size of McDonald's, you can afford to lose a few free ice creams. Like, come on, you make that in a second. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's better to lose an ice cream than a customer forever, because if you keep getting people's order wrong and you don't compensate them in any way, then they're not going to come back.
Yes.